listening to Second Wind with Joyce Buford, where women who are ready to expand their life adventure discover the tools to stop playing small and tap into the courage required to enjoy their second wind. Welcome.
Welcome to Second Wind. I am delighted that you are here with us today because you're going to learn some really, really valuable information that all women need to know about finding peace, balance, and wellness in their lives. Now, I created this program, this show, because of my transition in my life. And I wanted a resource out there that you could hear from other women who have gone through transition, that they could have the support community out there to help them through their journey of transition. Well, all of my guests have been through transitions of some kind, or they're supporting transitions, as the ladies today are that are going to visit with us. So I only have the best for you. Now remember that. And this is for you out there today. It's very imperative that one of the things I share today is this. To be successful, you must connect and you must find support. And so this is your beginning if you're just starting out today. So let me progress here with this exciting show because we have two special guests. Now, it's not usually we get two at one time, but it just means you get double the pleasure here. So my special guests today are professional ladies who joined their passions to create a support center for women through the use of their knowledge. They are able to change lives by combining the importance of integrating the mind, the body, and the soul. As friends, they co-own Living Well Holistic Counseling and Wellness, a center benefiting many who look for answers by balancing their lives. We're going to visit Cammie first. Cammie Jackson received her undergrad degree in psychology from Hardin-Simmons University and a master's in professional counseling from Liberty University. She is trained in eye movement desensitization and processing and is working on her mental health integrative medicine provider certificate for integration of nutrition in counseling. Now, Cammie is married and has two rambunctious boys, keeping her on her toes and on her knees. I love that, Cammie. I love that. That is where two boys will put you. Her partner is Amy Waters, and Amy is a licensed professional counselor supervisor. Amy graduated with a master's in marriage and family counseling from Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary in 2011. But before that, she had been counseling for 10 years. Amy is married and mommy to Sam, age 8, and Ellie, age 6. So if you haven't picked up on these ladies are not just sitting around. They have got a busy life. So I'm excited that they're going to share that with us. And the two words that I want to know about first is what holistic is and what wellness is. Now, who wants to tackle that first, my dear ladies? Cammie?
I'm going to tackle the word holistic.
Okay.
So what holistic is not, it's not organic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about, it's not trendy. It's a foundational word that means whole person. It's looking at the being, and it's saying you are a whole person, your mind, your body, your soul. So when we are saying holistic as far as living well, what we do here is we're looking at someone and saying, what do they need in their nutrition? What does their body need? Do they need movement? What's going on in their thoughts? Is there trauma? Things like that. So that when we say holistic, we're thinking whole person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So wellness.
Yeah, I would say wellness is actually also connected to the idea of wholeness. It's more moving toward the best version of ourselves. And when we think about that holistically, that we want to live in the world of not just doing sick care, but doing care to pursue being as whole and as well as we can be, both mind, body, and soul. And so that's a pursuit that's ongoing for all of us, because there's always this movement toward, I think the culture we live in, the world we live in, kind of wants to move us toward lacking wellness and lacking wholeness. And so there's this ongoing pursuit that we all have to be well.
Yeah.
Like in the mental health world too, we used to say a lot of words like mental illness, and instead we like the idea of mental health, right? So we're not looking at it from the lens of what's wrong. We're looking at how do we become stronger? How do we become more whole?
Right. Yeah. With the pandemic that we've all gone through, I think many people have suffered in so many different ways that they've never suffered before. Being closed up, not seeing family members, being isolated, couples being too much togetherness, if you can say that. There isn't too much. And so we've all experienced additional stresses that have really sent our lives into tailspins. And I know because of your work, you're probably seeing that the increase that has happened over the last couple of years. But were you closed for a while? You probably were, or were you not? You were not?
Well, we're in Texas, so that makes a difference probably. But we actually have never been closed. We opened Living Well 6 months ago.
So 6 months. So you're a newbie.
We're the crazy people that opened a business in the middle of a pandemic. But we've never closed our doors. And then the counseling center we had worked at before, we never closed. There was a time when probably did half and half, maybe half virtual, half in person. But we've always seen as essential healthcare.
6 months. Oh my gosh, girls. How does that feel?
How does that feel? That's a great question. It feels like we are having to press in to practice what we preach.
Yes, I bet.
Yeah.
Now here you have created this, the building. You can go on the website. Their website is livingwelltyler.com.
Yes.
Correct? You could go on the website and see this absolutely gorgeous 2-story. Do you have a name for that building?
We call it the castle.
The castle.
The castle. And I think every woman loves to go to a castle, don't we? Anyway, so it's a beautiful facility. I have yet to see it, but I plan to. So how does one come up with this idea, Kimmy? I was told by a little bird that this was a dream you had, correct?
Correct. Yes. So I think it's been about 13 years ago that I was actually having a massage, and in the midst of the massage started to just see a picture of all these pieces going together under one roof.
Awesome.
And at that point in time, I had no idea why all those pieces fit together. I just had a picture of all the pieces. And then I was at that point still in school, getting my master's in counseling. And then I started doing work in bereavement and grief support. And then I started doing work in trauma. Both of those two areas being such important areas to understand how the body plays a part in what's going on with mental health. And so I'm sure you've probably heard the term, the body keeps the score. But in trauma land, that's a lot of what we talk about is what is our body telling us? Where is our trauma held? And so as I learned more of that, all those pieces made sense to me, which is what we're talking about, the holistic care, that all those pieces need to be engaged for somebody to really heal and I guess to thrive, to live well. So yes, so that was the picture. And then began the process. The third of our partnership is my husband, and he's the that has beautiful ability to see what I can't see. What we can't see. He has vision.
Yes. Nice.
Yeah. And so we looked at so many different places and kept coming back to this place. It sat vacant for 12 years. Yes.
It was actually already built.
It was built. It was a built castle that was very run down and did not look like it does now. It was one of those places, and most people in Tyler know about the castle, driven by it at some point. Some people joked and said it looked like a scary haunted house. I mean, everybody has an impression about the castle. Some had ideas for what it could be. But I think it's really fitting because, again, it's being able to look at something and not just see what it is, but what could be. And so it's really cool to take a place that people really kind of gave up on and to be able to transform it into something beautiful and useful and really a place of retreat. People walk in the doors and say, gosh, it just feels so peaceful here. This is so safe.
Oh, that sweet gal who was in a couple weeks ago, this little teenage gal comes in and she's looking around and I approached her. I said, have you been here before? And she said, no. She said, this place is like a sanctuary. And I texted immediately because that was one of the words that kept coming to our mind as we were talking about the places, that we wanted people to feel safe and to feel like they could take a deep sigh of relief when they walked through the doors. And so sanctuary was exactly what we were going for.
Yeah.
So your sanctuary sits on 10 acres, correct?
Correct.
It does.
So that provides you with a lot of outdoor space. And how do you use this outdoor space?
Great question. So, I'm going to back up for a second and give you a little bit more of kind of why we have space, why we are doing what we're doing.
Okay.
So a huge part of what we really, the part of why we wanted a place where it was beautiful and all these things is not just because we wanted a beautiful place, but we wanted to create space for people. Not just space physically, but when you have beautiful space and you literally have space, physical space, you're able to decompress. You're able to kind of open up more on the inside, right? So we really wanted a place where people could be still. They could pause. We kind of have said a lot of times it's the purposeful pause. So we use the space, every bit of it, in that way. There's a pool, so people can come and sit by the pool. We have a yoga studio that's in a separate part on the property, beautiful little yoga studio. We have nature trails, picnic blankets to sit outside and picnic tables and just space. So people come and they may come and see a counselor, but we always encourage them to stay an extra hour or really linger, have time to keep processing when you're done. So it doesn't just start and stop in the office, right? It starts and stops before you come in and after. So,
yeah.
It's also not uncommon to see a counselor do a session outside or to take a walk with a client that maybe the client just needs a change of pace or a change of rhythm, or for our soul care director to be doing a guided meditation outside with nature right there in front of you. There's something really healing about being in creation and to take all of that in. And I find that a lot of people, when they're just going, they're not getting a lot of time to do that, or maybe the space that they live in doesn't give them a lot of opportunity for that.
Yeah. You were visiting with me yesterday, and you completed the thought by saying, well, after I give a session, you like to encourage them to go outside and sit or walk. And I never thought about that because all of my counseling has been into an office, out of an office, into my car, and out on the traffic, so it's a totally different thought, and how much better the session, how much stronger the session might have been for the person to have the time to reflect. You can't. So
we rush in and out of everything we do. We rush into the grocery store and we rush into the doctor's office and we picking up kids and dropping off kids. And, in doing therapy over the last 10 years, I think some of the saddest moments have been when with a couple or with an individual, we're really at a good place in processing, but the session needs to end because we're limited by time, or maybe have another session beginning. But if they're not done yet, they can keep doing the work, and that they can give their mind an opportunity to contemplate, or before, right? When someone kind of rushes in frantic, sometimes they need to unload all of that before we can start a session. And so if someone can come in and give themselves 15, 20 minutes to pause, to breathe, to write down some thoughts, they really can enter in and get to work more quickly because they don't need to unload what they just walked out of.
Right. In your original vision, did you see individuals or did you see couples? Now, I know you've added additional skills, so I'm interested in knowing what percentage of your support is with individuals versus couples.
That's a good question. We have 9 counselors that are here. So we have a pretty big range of specialization. A lot of what we're doing, like we look through the lens of the holistic, the whole person, which is an individual thing, but imagine what we get to do in marriage work when we look at 2 whole people, right? So that can look like marriage work where we're doing some individual work together as we work with the couple. So I would say probably 30% is couples.
Maybe not even that.
Yeah. 20, maybe 30%. Yeah. Is couples.
Yeah. Primarily individual. And then we have a few therapists who will do couple sessions. Although I will say my preference is that when we're doing couples work, you have to have a kind of baseline of wellness to even begin the work in a couple.
Right.
So sometimes you may be working with each person individually even before you begin some of the things going on in the relationship, because we're bringing our individual stuff to the relationship.
We're bringing our 10-year-old, 3-year-old, whatever self is that's got that issue that was created back in that age, and it sticks its ugly head out in marriages for sure.
Right.
So doesn't it? It's not fair.
No. No, and I know my husband often feels like he's arguing with a 5-year-old.
And vice versa. Because we all come with our stuff. So how does it feel to go into business with your best friend? Is that tense?
Is it tense? Is that what you asked? No, it's been so unbelievable. It may not be that way for any friends going into business, but this friendship
is special.
Yes. Yeah.
It's it's been almost 13 years, right? Probably right around the same time that you kind of saw what you saw. We met in a group. It was actually a marriage group. So there were 5 couples meeting together. And the very first night we met, our dear friend Megan, she grabs both of us by the hands and she looks us in the eyeballs and she said, "You two don't go be best friends without me." She knew that there was kind of a natural connect. We really have, in some ways, lived a lot of parallel. In that we were both in school at the same time. We both married and had kids a little bit later than a lot of people do. And then we got to work together. Our husbands have worked together. And so there's been a really sweet kinship, friendship here that when we started, we kind of said, okay, are we going to do this? And what is this going to do to our friendship?
Yes.
And I think we've weathered it really well.
Well,
I still really adore this woman.
Agreed. Much more so, yes. Much more.
Well, that's a good story. The business has strengthened your friendship.
Absolutely. You may remember for the listeners who have married and had children, that moment when you watched your spouse become a parent and you saw things in them you never saw before.
That's right. Yes.
Probably both good and bad.
Right.
But the things that were good were just remarkable to you, right? To watch someone that you care about do things that you didn't know they could do, or that you just never seen them do before. And I feel like in some ways our little business baby has been that. I've watched Cammie lead and be strong in so many ways that just make me admire her a lot.
Same.
And we've had our fair share of hard conversations too.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And I think, I love your podcast in that it's all about, transformation. And so I think we also both know each other on a deeper level of friendship, and we kind of know the transformations that we've both walked through personally.
Yes.
And that has given us such a level of grace and deeper appreciation as we've walked into this business together. I think there's times, like, if we're talking about marriage and people acting like the 5-year-old, there's probably been times in our business relationship where I've been that 5-year-old, doing, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm freaking out about this. And then my dear friend knows me as the 5-year-old, like, she understands that part of me, and given so much grace and linked arms together in a way that I don't know that I have any other friend that could do that in the way Amy has. So, yeah.
Well, running a business is certainly different if you've not ever done that before. You can run a house, you can run a committee at the school, at the church, you could do all that. But when you have to put all these pieces together for a business, that takes some real serious thinking, I would think. And also conversations. And you have 21 women working there, right?
We have two. Mark is
and 2 men.
Two men. Mark is
my husband is Mark. So he's the other partner, and we call him the Wizard of Oz. He's the man behind the curtain that makes the whole thing happen. So he's not here, but he's the one who does all the background.
Yes. Always fun to get from Mark. Mark in HR, Mark in IT, Mark in grounds. But we have a wonderful team of very talented, strong women who are good at what they do. We really, when we were putting together a team, we wanted people who already had a practice, like already were doing what they were doing. We just wanted to do it together. And so that's been actually a huge blessing because there's, in the world of how is someone going to take care of the body, I don't have to be thinking about all the ways that that's going to be done. We have this wonderful team of people who understand how the body works. And so it feels a little risky when you talk about taking that many women on a team, especially that many strong women on a team, but it really, I think, has been very good.
It has been unbelievable. So we have not had drama.
No,
we have not.
Oh.
And what I can say is that, like, we deeply trust the people that are on our team. And it's not, we didn't go out scurrying around trying to find a bunch of people. The team just really kind of came together in such a way that we couldn't reproduce the way that this team has come together. And so you have women who are excellent people, who are excellent in their field. And
tell us tell us about the different professions that you have there.
Sure. Okay. So we have counseling, we have nutrition, we have massage therapy, yoga, soul care, and then we have wellness services. So the wellness services we have are red light, new calm, and infrared sauna. So those are the 3 extra services we provide. But as far as our team, those are the different pieces. So we have 5 yoga instructors at this point. We have 4 massage therapists, like I said, 9 counselors, an integrative mental health nutrition coach, and then our soul care director.
So, but you don't, as yet, you don't do anything over Zoom, over social media, anything outside of the center. Everybody must come to the center, correct?
We certainly have virtual options. Because of the land of COVID, a lot of things are virtual now. So our counselors see clients virtually.
Good.
Our nutritionist sees clients virtually. Our yoga instructor, her name is Lucy Davis, and she has it's called Pajama Yoga with Lucy. So she has an online virtual yoga that's like $15 a month for people to join if they're in other places. So really, there's a lot of things we do that can be done virtually.
Oh, that's great. So the listeners out there need to know that they can go to the center through virtual and take yoga. not massages. Now she kind of
Which, right?
I know. I've laughed. I'm like,
like
if we
that.
ever figure out a way to do a virtual massage, I will be shocked. And
Oh no, you can't. You have to have
There are
touch.
some things we should not
We just
try to
shouldn't
figure
try to
out.
do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about how somebody would use your facility. I'm a woman. I'm kind of coming to you with my life is just a mess. Start here, there, kids. I'm married. I'm not, and it's just a mess. I can't make sense out of it. So how do they come to you?
I feel like they can come through a number of doorways. And I think that's the world of integrative care, that that woman might first show up to just come get a massage. So she thinks, gosh, I just need a day to myself, and I need, I need to invest in some kind of self-care. And then, as she's here, she may learn about some of the other things that are going on. I feel like probably most typically that woman might sit down with a therapist first and just tell her story and where she's at and where she's maybe hoping to be, and that we can create a plan that helps her move in the right direction. And so it is a little bit different in the sense where normally when you're doing counseling, a lot of people live in the world of 1 hour a week, every week or every other week for a while. Where here we might do that a little different. We might, instead of doing once a week for an hour, we might say, why don't we do a full day once a month? And that we do counseling, soul care, a yoga class, a massage, that we really kind of give yourself a whole day to do that. Or
That's a great idea.
We might say you come 1 week to counseling and then 1 week to do a day of body work, and we might integrate it that way. You might meet with someone and go, gosh, I think counseling is probably not the first priority. I really think you should meet with our nutrition coach, because it sounds like you're needing to figure out how to support your body through diet and supplement, and to make a plan in that direction. So some of that is more just getting to know each individual person, who they are, where they are, what they need, and then we can tailor the plan to them. So we've had to do some like stretching, even in the way we traditionally have done therapy, because we have space, we have people. And so it's been neat even to shift from this way that we've done this for the last, few years, to be able to go, wait, we don't have to do it that way. And so I've seen a lot of impact in people being able to, gosh, if once a week feels really hard schedule wise, that designating a full day might not feel as crazy. And so you can do a lot in a day.
So are your hours from 10 to 5 or 8 to 5, or what are they basically?
So it would depend on who you're working with. I mean, different counselors would have different hours, but for the most part, we have people here from about 9 to 6. And that can vary. Some work later, some work a little bit earlier, but that's the range, the normal range, 9 to 6. We've seen, it's been so incredible to see the synergistic effect of really incorporating all the pieces. So like Amy had said, I think we were in the world of, as counselors, we're doing our work and we're going to give you everything we've got to help you, but to go, wait a minute, it's better for you if maybe I'm seeing you fewer times, so that you're able to do some of these other pieces. And just hearing the clients come back and go, I didn't understand it, but it works. I get it. Wow. I didn't know my body was so uptight. I didn't know I was so inflamed, whatever the thing may have been, that because we're giving opportunity to really do all things together, people are really seeing amazing results. We've started doing some intensives. So as we're talking about people out of town, we're doing more and more intensives where we have people who are coming in and they're, doing 3 days, or they've done 5 days, where they come and they stay and they come every day and do a little bit of work. Or sometimes they come and do a lot of work every day. But that's been a cool way to do it too, where it's not necessarily I'm going to come every week for however many weeks, but I'm going to come and I'm going to set aside time and really turn a corner more quickly.
Yeah. Where do they stay? when they come for
We have
intensive.
dreams. There will come a day we'll have cottages here.
I feel that's coming.
It's coming.
Maybe sooner than later.
We already see
Well, we have ideas.
we see a need for it.
Absolutely,
We're
yeah.
actually, again, in this property, there has been so
Mhm.
much providential, what I just call providential provision.
Yes.
We are very conveniently located
Mhm.
close to the Cumberland Shops in South Tyler. So there's a hotel less than a mile away from us. So some people have gone that route.
Mhm.
We've had people do Airbnb or stay with a friend, or
Mhm.
even someone who lives here locally to go, they stay at their house at night, but they take
Mhm.
a couple of days off of work to come invest in time. And so it kind of, again, it just depends on resources and what they can do, but we would love to have little cottages for people to come and stay.
Mhm. Yeah, I see that, definitely. One thing that I think I realize so many people have are digestion problems. And digestion problems is, I mean, from food, from stress, from I don't know what it is, but it's on a rise. I do believe, male
Mhm.
and female.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so when they do they come specifically for that? Have you seen people come for that? Or would they
I think we have
naturally go to
seen,
the doctor first?
I think it depends on who you are. We have some that have come for that. You know, I think people still see themselves as segmented. They still
Uh-huh.
see like my digestion is one thing or my medical is one thing. Right, they're not seeing all those pieces fit together. And I think we are turning a corner overall in this world of understanding how it all fits together. I mean,
Yeah.
the idea that like, oh, I had trauma in my life and that's affecting me physically, that's a newer concept still.
Mhm.
The idea that there's a gut brain connection, that mental health is actually connected to my physical health, to what I put in my body, that's a
Right.
new concept. So
Right.
we are learning things still that I think 10 years from now, we're going to go, whoa, we didn't even have a clue, you know? Yeah.
Was it that Erin Carey, our nutrition coach, I know you visit
Yeah.
with her,
Mhm.
loves to throw little tidbits at us all the time. And she recently, we did a little post where 90% of your serotonin receptors are in your gut. And if you think
Mm.
about how you might describe when you feel anxious or when you feel
Mhm.
upset, right? If I'm really distraught over something, you might say, I was just sick. I was just sick to my stomach.
Right.
Or that you ever been upset enough to throw up, or right, or to go, oh my gosh, I have to get to a bathroom.
Mhm.
Part of what happens is that there's this thing that maybe happens where we think, oh, it's just emotion, but the body will respond in a very real way. Well, that's because it's all connected. And so if someone is having some regular disruption in their digestive system,
Mhm.
there's a good chance we need to take a look at what's happening in their world, what's happening in their environment, or what's happened in their history.
Oh, well, see, I was blaming it on the food chain, right? It's changed so much, and it can be a contributor, but it's not the only contributor,
Right.
right?
They all play together. Certainly we want to look, but I think a lot of times we think, oh, if I just clean up my diet, which that may be helpful. I'm not going to say that it's not, that what we put in our bodies certainly impacts us, but how we think about what we put in our bodies also impacts us.
Mhm.
Or I may be eating a very clean diet, but I have unresolved trauma. And so now my body can't do what it needs to do because I'm holding trauma in my body somewhere. And, you know, I've done a lot of work with, one of the things I love to do is to work with women who have autoimmune disorders, which is on the rise.
Yes, it
and
is.
profoundly plagues women.
Mhm.
And I don't know many who have autoimmune disorders who don't also have some kind of trauma somewhere in their history.
Wow.
And
Explain what autoimmune is for the listener.
so
If you would.
autoimmune disorder is just when your immune system is oversensitive, or that your immune system is protecting you from things you don't need to be protected from. So when for example, a thyroid autoimmune disorder, that your body may produce antibodies that actually attack your thyroid. And so sometimes it's just in being really reactive to the environment, and that you would normally produce this much antibodies and your body's just heightened. And so you have a lot of aches and pains and fatigue, tiredness, brain fog, lots of symptoms that kind of bleed over between. But it also will start to attack different parts of your body. And so depending on what the autoimmune disorder is connected to, your body almost will respond to the healthy parts of you as if it's not. And so it can be very painful, and also can be very isolating, because it's not an illness that people can see. And yet for a lot of people who have an autoimmune disorder, it can be debilitating.
Because they can't leave, right? They can't go out.
Well, they can.
Is that what they can?
They can. It just depends on what day it is.
Well, it can be debilitating in that their whole body can hurt and ache, and nobody can see that, right? They look totally healthy and normal, and yet their body feels as if they're 30 years older than they are. Their energy level is at 20%, but they look like they should be at 80%. And so there's no outward manifestation of what's going on inwardly.
Right.
Chronic. So it's not like it's, I've been feeling bad for a week and now I'm good. It's ongoing.
Yeah.
Right.
And
you made me think of another thing that I think is coming on very strong. It's been here for years, but it's really the brain. And there's a certain age where I've noticed that they go through memory loss, light memory loss, and they just accept it as though it's part of my age. And I want to say, it is not part of your age. It's your diet. It's saying the words, it's my age, that makes it come true. And I am totally surrounded by people saying that, only because I hang out with older people. But I much prefer younger ones, though. So I'm going to come hang out with y'all. But anyway, are you doing anything at the center? I know Erin probably through digestion and that work. I mean, sugar is just a brain killer. So is that how you would support a woman that's coming in with those, I just can't remember anything statements?
There are a number of ways, absolutely, to support that woman. So you look at nutrition, of course. You look at movement. So one of the first things I would say is, let's get you in a yoga class, which I know we can roll our eyes and say, well, I am not going to go to yoga. I'm 65 or whatever I may be. And I would say, yes, let's get you in yoga. We have a couple, actually, I think we have 5 yoga classes a week that are called Restorative Yoga. It's a very intentional, slow movement. Anyone could walk in the door and do a variation of restorative yoga. Yeah. We have one client who started yoga, I think she was 65 or 70. At 92 is in the best health she's been in her life. She started at 65. So that's a great example. Yoga is one of those things that I would say is probably the strongest anti-aging thing you could do. It's good for the brain. It's great for the brain. It's great for the body. And you can continue to do it, for years to come. So red light therapy would be a great thing.
Stimulates mitochondria, which is the powerhouse for your cells. It helps with cellular regeneration. It reduces inflammation. It's great for skin. It's great for bones. Great for brain. Far infrared sauna is also a great thing to do.
Oh, you're talking about the service. That's the red light.
So red light therapy, all red light is that great healthy light that we get from the sun minus the UV rays. When you are out in the sun, you're in red light. When you're sitting by a fire, have candles going, that's red light. And so red light is actually, during the pandemic, a lot of us were talking about blue light blockers and, all the things that help protect our eyes from being in front of screens all the time. Well, red light's on the other end of the spectrum. It's an energy giving light. And so it's especially for someone who has seasonal changes. I have a dear friend who has received a diagnosis that's connected to some brain things, and I've got him in here 3 days a week.
Yeah. Right.
Both red
Yeah.
light therapy and sauna.
Now, does the yoga that you spoke of earlier for older citizens, is that with the chairs? I know there's a yoga they use chairs with. Do they use that in that class?
We don't have it in that class, no.
Okay.
But there's modifications that can be done. So that there's not a lot of standing up and going back down. You know, there's a range of how you can do restorative yoga that's not as intense on the body.
Yeah. Okay.
We also have, most of our yoga instructors do private sessions. So, you know, if someone says, I'm not comfortable going into a class, or I've never done this before, or I need more assistance, there's always options. I think and it wouldn't just be here at Living Well, this would be across the board. I think it's a mindset shift to go, not I can't, but how can I, right? Like there are ways that I can do things to move towards wellness, right? It's a mind shift to be able to say, I can always do things to better my health, to better my well-being, instead of saying, well, I'm too old, I can't, or I'm too tired, I can't, or right. Instead of going in that way, to go, well, how can I? And there are so many great resources in our area, but I mean, in all areas, it's just a matter of going, what direction do I need to go? What's the most important step that I could take that helps my well-being?
So what ages would you say you service?
We service 13 and up.
13.
Because we say we're kind of an adult only facility. We've created a space that feels really therapeutic, spa-like. And so our children come, but they only come whenever no one else is here. It changes the environment pretty quickly when we bring our kiddos in. So so 13 and up. We have clients that are teenagers, and we have a lot of clients that up into 80s and
Yes.
wide range.
Yeah. Well, needless to say, I think it's a pretty special place that you've created. Do you know of any other like this? Did you do research and find and kind of follow any other people's experience?
We've researched for sure. We never found anything that was quite like what we're doing. I think integrative work is becoming more and more common, and I'm so glad that it is. So we see integrative medicine, some like medical clinics that have nutritionists, or they have some form of yoga, things like that. So you typically see it in the medical world, but when you look at mental health and you look at like a counseling center, things like that, you really don't see that integrative picture.
Right.
There may be some, but there's nothing near us. So we've certainly kind of, we joke that we're the wild stallions, kind of creating this different way. But so it's been really fun.
Okay.
There are people doing some things like this, but we did not have a map to work off of. We'll put it that way.
Yes.
Right.
We were kind of trying to figure out who could we ask, who's gone out in front of us in this. And we really struggled to find a place doing what we were aiming to do. I would say, I think there's a lot of talk in the world of counseling, because more and more we're seeing with EMDR, with different kind of somatic therapies, that you're starting to see people go, oh, the body is important, or engaging the whole person is important, but having a place and space to do it is another thing entirely.
Well, that was my next question. I wanted to ask how you decided to study eye movement.
Great question. Can I communicate really quick what trauma is in my mind?
Sure.
Okay. So when we say the word trauma, people typically think PTSD, they think veterans, or they think major accident. And those things are trauma. However, the way I communicate trauma is anything that when I think about it, it's vivid in my memory. It's like that thing that happened that I see it like it was yesterday, and my body responds to it. So I may have a reaction, right? Like that kind of
triggering. Normally happy reactions or negative reactions?
A negative reaction to a painful memory. Now that's one kind of trauma.
Right.
Another kind of trauma can be, we call them little t traumas, but an ongoing trauma that can be kind of a relational trauma.
Mhm.
So when I think about a person, my body responds. When I have a certain belief that something happens and a belief kind of passes through my mind, it's a triggering back to a childhood memory, or a childhood relationship that was ongoing. So when we say trauma, we're talking about really a number of different things. And it may not be PTSD, but it can still be trauma. So when we're working with trauma, what we've learned is it's important to connect. So what EMDR does is it connects a memory. It can be, I would call it like a core memory. It's a significant moment that can kind of encapsulate, if we're talking about a relationship, it encapsulates what was going on in that relationship. So we get a memory connected to a reaction in our body, emotions that are held in that space, and then a belief that goes along with that memory. So the belief may be something like, I'm not enough, I'm not safe, things like that, that in that moment, when we go through a trauma, we don't think about what the other person did. We take on a belief about ourselves. And so that belief carries on with us. We're in the present day, like we're talking about marriage work, right? And the 5-year-old's reacting, that belief inside of them is still there, right? If it's I'm not enough, I'm trying to constantly compensate for that belief that's come from the traumas. So in doing work, however many years ago it was, I realized by just talking with a client, we can't heal. It's not enough. We're working with the wrong part of the brain. And so EMDR connects to that memory, but it's a different part of the brain that's doing the processing. It's visualizing and kind of working through a memory in a way that engages the body and engages the memory and helps the memory to shift into, or I guess helps the brain to fully process the memory. That's a good way to say it. Trauma memories tend to be held in short-term memory, which is why the body reacts and responds. It's like it was stuck. It didn't know how to fully process. And so EMDR helps that memory to get processed fully through and be able to shift into long-term memory. Does that make sense? And as it shifts into long-term,
so it goes from the conscious to the subconscious brain?
Kind of shifts, yeah. And what's really powerful is as that happens, the memory is really vivid in the beginning and it kind of starts to disintegrate and it becomes more gray, like other memories, right? It kind of shifts in a way that it's not as bright. Our body stops responding to it. And what's really cool is we don't tell the brain, let's take a new belief on. The brain, as it shifts, takes on a different belief. Like it might go, oh, wait a minute, I am safe, right? It disconnects. This was the past, but in the present, I'm safe. And so that's how EMDR works. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes, I was actually, there was a lady in town that read the eyes. I haven't
I read
thought
all
of her in years. Yes.
Yeah.
Older lady.
Mhm.
But it wasn't for that. It wasn't. It was for what?
Yeah,
Illness?
That's
that
they're looking in the eyes to see like deficiencies in vitamins and things like that.
Yes, that's what, yeah.
Now with EMDR, it's eye movement. So it's using bilateral stimulation right to left. And so in the same way that when we're sleeping in the REM cycle of sleep, our eyes move, we've discovered that by eye movement, the brain processes. And so you're using fingers kind of right to left. It's not like hypnosis, but it feels like that in the sense that we're moving right to left with the eyes, and that helps the brain to process.
Oh, fascinating.
Fascinating.
Do you see, now the other problem that I've become aware of is the sleep problem. Way too many people are not sleeping, including yours truly. And that's so important for, particularly, I hear, for aging people, that they sleep for the length of their life. And so, do you see that when you integrate the mind, the body, and the soul, do you see their sleep patterns improving?
Yeah, we probably one of the first intensives I did here at Living Well. We had a gal who was not sleeping, not eating, really having a hard time functioning, and really she called to go do I need to go to the hospital? Where do I need to go? Well, she'd been to an
Aw.
ER. They'd checked her out. They were saying everything's fine health-wise. There's no reason why you shouldn't be sleeping.
Mhm.
And we saw really quickly that there was some trauma, but that there was also just some nervous system overdrive.
Mm.
And so to be in a state to be able to sleep, your parasympathetic nervous system has to be engaged, which is the part of the brain that we rest and digest. And so when you stay in that fight or flight, which is the sympathetic nervous system, it makes sleep really hard. So
Mhm.
from a biological perspective, what that generally means is that you're not going to lay down and take a nap if the saber-toothed tiger is chasing you, right? That's not the time to sleep.
No.
And so we need to be in a place where we're calm, our nervous system is calm. And so you can see a lot of sleep disruption when the nervous system is on overdrive.
Mhm.
The other thing that can, I mean, again, we're whole picture here. So sometimes you may have some vitamin deficiencies that are making sleep difficult. You may have some nervous system issues that need to calm down that make sleep difficult. There's oftentimes too, if you've not been still and you've not given yourself time to process, when you lay
Right.
your head down on the pillow, everything that you need to be processing through is going to come find you.
Yes. Yes. You rework it 100 times.
Yeah. And so you find your brain just filled up with thoughts and racing thoughts when you're laying down. And so some of it is really just, again, looking at the person, right? That you're not sleeping is your body telling you, hey, something's going on and I need you to pay attention.
Mhm.
Why it's happening may vary from person to person. But when we have something like that, I think a lot of times we just accept, well, I'm just not sleeping because, I think
Yeah.
for both of us, we've had this business thing going on. We're stepping into, mid 40s and going, oh, our bodies are different. And there's been a couple times where you're like, I think hormones might be working a number on me here.
Yes.
So there can be a lot of things going on, but I do
Yeah.
think anything that we can do to engage the parasympathetic nervous system. So again, yoga, massage, wellness services, breathing,
Mhm.
processing things,
Turning off screens.
turning screens off. Yes.
Before you go to bed, don't look at, right?
Yeah,
Guilty sometimes, yeah.
there's a lot that we can do to create a good, what we call sleep hygiene.
Yeah.
But there's also things that we can do when the body is not sleeping. In some ways it's talking to us and saying, hey, I need you.
Mm.
I need you to help me.
Yeah.
One of the simplest things we try to reframe is the idea that your body is your friend.
Mhm.
If we looked at our body as if we looked at one of our friends, right? We wouldn't keep telling it to shut up, not paying attention to it, right? We wouldn't be like abusing it, neglecting it. We would be tending to it like we would our friend. And
Mhm.
so just looking at the body as a friend, right? And noticing, what does it need? What is it telling me? How can I
Right.
tend to it? What can I provide it to give it what it needs to rest?
Mhm.
Instead of going there, oh, it really doesn't need anything. I'll just keep moving along. Let's slow down enough to pay attention to it. It's been with us all these years. It really
Yes.
has been our closest friend. It's either been our greatest enemy or our closest friend, and it wants to be our friend.
And it's transitioning.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If I could say
Okay.
to your listeners, I think I would love to say there's a lot of great things out there. There's a lot of big things people can do to do big help. But like we've said multiple times, even creating space, right? A way in my life to not just, and space doesn't just mean I'm not doing anything. Space means I'm using my time in a way that opens up, right? That I walk and I do mindfulness. I walk and I notice the trees and I notice the sky. That is creating space inside.
Right.
I listen to music not just to fill the room, but I listen to music to let it fill my soul. I'm doing things to create space. So if I could say anything, I think we can slow down and tune in a little bit. And even just by doing that, we see sleep improve, we see digestion improve, we see mental health improve, because we're just giving opportunity to stop pushing and to kind of pause, reflect, be still.
Great advice. All right, let's share with the listener out there about all of your different, how they get in touch with you and all your social media sites and all of that. Which one of
Living
you
Well
would like to do that?
I think Living Well Tyler and all those avenues you'll find us. So Facebook, you can look up Living Well Tyler. Instagram is Living Well Tyler, right?
Mm-hmm.
The website is www.livingwelltyler.com. That's the way to find us.
Yeah.
Phone number is on there. Emails, I think, are on there also.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So on your website, you have all your different, you have a lot of things on your website. You have all of the different people that work there, their pictures, and you also have the services you provide. What else?
On the website, what else is there?
Yeah.
The why behind the what. If you want to learn about any of those resources, there's questions and answers at the bottom that can kind of explain more. I think a lot of what we're saying probably sounds like Greek at this point. I think it can, but if you go on our website, you can find the same information we're talking about, read over it. We have an amazing staff at our front desk that would love to answer questions for you. So they can call and ask. We want to be a resource. The clients and people don't have to come here and see us to get help. If they want to call and ask questions, we would love to be a resource.
Wonderful. Well, this has been so informative for me. And I've lived here forever, but you've only been here for 6 months. But anyway, it sounds like you have really a fabulous place for healing. And I always like to close my shows with 2 questions. So you can think of these. The first one that I'm going to ask, what was the most powerful decision you made towards your success? And I'll start with you, Cammie.
I think the most powerful decision that I made was to take the step and to trust the Lord with it, which meant overcoming my own insecurities and the things that I said I can't do, and to say, I'm going to trust you, God, with it, and we're going to take the step.
Yeah.
Good. How about you?
Mine, I think, was more in a letting go of that the place that we were working before was a big part of my life, and the relationships there are really important to me. And so to be able to receive something new, you do have to sometimes let go so that you can have open hands. And so there, for me, it was a letting go of a thing that had been a part of my life for a long time.
Yeah. All right, Amy, I'm going to let you start with the second question first. What is success for you?
Goodness. I think that's such a great question. For me, success is not wrapped up in how many people show up here, how much money we make, or for me, it is connected to doing what I believe God has asked me to do and to do it faithfully. And sometimes that means saying no to things that might look like success. I want to know that I've lived my life well, and that I've honored God and that I've honored my people as I do it.
Could I say ditto to that? Because that would be exactly what I would say. I would say for us as people, yes, foundationally, that's such the truth of how we both really think and believe. And I think that's why we could do this business together, because it's not our intention, and success is really so much more about serving God and serving people. And part of those people is serving our families well. And we're learning how to tend to ourselves while we do that.
Oh, yeah, said very well. All right, we are approaching the end of our show, and I just thank you very much for sharing the wisdom that you've gathered over your young years, and also for being so open to support others. This is a center that could really heal lives. And that's special. So Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joyce, for having
Sure.
We can't wait to see
Stepping
you
out.
in yoga, Joyce.
Woo! Massage first.
Right.
I'm a massage girl.
Uh,
So anyway, but let me say something to my audience. This is a new thought, perhaps, about healing the whole body through the mind, the body, and the soul. And so I really encourage you. I know you know people that are struggling. You may be struggling. We all have so much pressure on us these days. It would be natural to struggle. And so there's always something we can tweak. There's always something we can change. So you can reach them by physically getting in your car, driving to their location, which sounds beautiful and peaceful. Or you could possibly visit one of their 21 people that are working there for therapy or support. So share, because it's so important to connect and support others. And also think about where you want to be next week, what you will do this week to change not only your life, but somebody else's. So I encourage you to be a source of light for someone this week.
Yes.
So thank you for being here. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you here next week, virtually. I mean, knowing you're there. And so have a great week, and please do something wonderful for yourself. Thank you for being here. Till next week.
Joyce Buford returns next week at the same time for another edition of Second Wind. Through the Joyce Buford Empowerment System, women are receiving the support they need through their transitions and are able to reclaim their true purpose with confidence. They receive the tools they need to map out new lives. You can find out more about her coaching services at joycebufordempowers.com.